Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, a sudden U.S.-Iran peace deal sends shockwaves through the global energy markets, the AI industry quietly transitions from human coders to autonomous loops, and a fight over Bitcoin custody exposes the hypocrisy of Wall Street.
It is definitely a massive day on the wire.
Yeah, it really is. So, welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here is simple, really. We want to sift through the absolute noise of the day's trending feeds and, find the structural shifts that are actually shaping our future.
Right, because, the consensus view is always missing the underlying mechanics, the hidden risks, the real reasons capital is shifting around.
Right.
Which is exactly what we need to pull apart today.
Exactly. Let's jump straight into this geopolitical lead story because, man, it caught the entire global feed off guard.
Oh, completely blindsided everyone.
Right. So we have this massive development that was apparently mediated by Pakistan. The Handle a Qubaisi letter posted the details. They're saying Pakistan's prime minister announced a U.S.-Iran peace deal. Yeah. And the framework declares an immediate, permanent termination of military operations on all fronts. And they specifically noted this includes operations in Lebanon.
That is a massive inclusion.
It is. And they're reportedly aiming for an official signing ceremony on June 19th in Switzerland.
Which, to organize a signing in Switzerland on that kind of timeline for a geopolitical shift of this magnitude,
Yeah.
That implies a massive amount of back-channel infrastructure has been moving quietly for months.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen overnight.
Right. And Pakistan stepping in as the mediator actually makes structural sense. They maintain these really complex, simultaneous diplomatic ties with both the U.S. and Iran, so it gives them a unique leverage point to broker a conversation, without triggering the usual immediate stalemates.
Right, and the political confirmation followed almost instantly. The account at Watcher Guru reported that President Trump took to Truth Social to declare the deal, quote-unquote, complete.
Okay, complete is a strong word there.
Well, more importantly for the global economy, he ordered the immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and the removal of the U.S. naval blockade.
And let me guess, the markets went wild.
Oh, they didn't wait for any signatures. Oil prices dropped over 4% in a matter of minutes, and stock futures just surged.
That instantaneous market reaction is just a masterclass in how modern algorithmic trading functions.
How so?
Well, algorithms are scraping these news wires and social feeds for specific text strings, right?
Yeah.
So they read Strait of Hormuz open or naval blockade removed, and they just execute massive sell orders on oil futures.
Because it's all automated.
Exactly. And the physical oil market is disproportionately sensitive to that specific choke point. Right. Roughly a fifth of the world's daily oil consumption passes through that single narrow waterway.
Okay, but I need to push back on the optimism here for a second.
Please do.
Because is this diplomatic breakthrough actually akin to a completed corporate merger that fundamentally changes the global supply chain? Or is it just a press release designed to calm jittery shareholders? I feel like the word permanent is doing a monumental amount of heavy lifting in these announcements.
Oh, yeah, that skepticism is entirely warranted. And if you look, the more sophisticated financial analysts are already tearing into the actual mechanics of this.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah, so at Lit Capital, the finance satire account, they posted this mock document titled Permanent Peace Deal VFFF V2611.
That is painfully accurate for anyone who has worked in corporate law.
Right. It's a joke, but it cuts straight to the reality of bureaucratic friction. A true permanent treaty requires ratifications, it needs enforcement mechanisms, and just a dizzying amount of legal structuring.
Which perfectly brings up the context provided by the newsletter at ExecSum. They broke down the reality of this ceasefire. They noted that defense and energy analysts know this is not a finalized, comprehensive treaty at all. It is an interim memorandum of understanding. It's an OU.
Right. And an MOU is essentially just a formalized agreement to keep agreeing in the future. It sets an intention. But you have to look at the massive blind spots here.
Like what?
Well, this is a bilateral step mediated by Pakistan. Where does a key regional actor like Israel factor into this specific framework?
That's a great point.
Yeah, they are largely unaccounted for in the immediate text of this arrangement.
So we have an agreement with missing regional players, historically unfulfilled claims in this specific theater, and no clear enforcement mechanism mentioned yet.
Exactly, which means that immediate 4% drop in oil, it's likely an overreaction by trading algorithms moving on the headline rather than a reflection of permanent structural regional stability.
They trade the text string, not the reality.
Exactly. The algorithms trade the text string, they don't trade the geopolitical nuance.
So we're essentially seeing markets trade on a geopolitical illusion. A draft document in Switzerland doesn't instantly teleport oil tankers through a historically volatile maritime corridor.
Nope. The physical supply chain is still sitting in the exact same precarious position it was in yesterday.
Wow. But there's a fascinating transition happening here. If that peace deal is fundamentally about securing control over the physical energy pipelines of the 20th century, like the Strait of Hormuz, the battle for the 21st century is really about securing control over cognitive pipelines.
Oh, yeah. The shift from physical infrastructure to digital ecosystems.
Yes, exactly. And there is a massive conversation unfolding right now around an essay published by Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella.
I saw this blowing up.
Yeah. So looking at a post by at StoryMK, Nadella lays out this argument for the year 2026. He says AI shouldn't just empower a few frontier models. He argues it actually must function as a broad platform.
Interesting pivot for them.
Right, and Amjad Masad, the CEO of Replit at Masad, endorsed this heavily. He called it a positive-sum vision, describing these firms as becoming hill-climbing machines that blend human judgment with AI to compound institutional knowledge.
You know, the phrase hill climbing machines is a brilliant conceptual framework. Well, in computer science and mathematics, hill climbing is an optimization technique. You take a step, see if you're higher up the hill, and if you are, you take another step in that exact direction. Masad is basically applying that to corporate structure.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Nadella is introducing this dynamic between human capital, so our tacit knowledge and judgment, and what he calls token capital, which are the proprietary AI systems that actually execute the tasks.
Okay, let me test a cynical theory here, though.
Go for it.
Nadella is out here warning us not to let AI repeat the mistakes of globalization, where we commoditized human expertise, right? He wants this thriving, diverse ecosystem of models. But isn't Microsoft essentially just trying to protect its own moat against OpenAI? I mean, is this high-minded philosophical essay just a defensive business maneuver?
Oh, absolutely. And that perspective is gaining a ton of traction among engineers right now. A user named at NS123ABC pulled up a fascinating receipt. It was a tweet from Elon Musk back in August 2025.
What did he say?
Musk bluntly predicted, quote, "OpenAI is going to eat Microsoft alive." Yeah. And this user framed Nadella's entire essay as a direct architectural response to that specific threat.
So preaching an ecosystem is just a shield against a monopoly that might replace you.
Think about the mechanics of Microsoft's strategy here. Nadella is promoting frontier ecosystems and actively integrating models like Grok onto Microsoft's Azure cloud infrastructure.
Right.
Because if a company relies entirely on one generalist frontier model, like OpenAI's top-tier offering, that single model captures all the value. They own the cognitive pipeline.
So by bringing in everyone else.
By aggressively leveraging token capital and integrating multiple competing models under the Azure umbrella, Microsoft ensures they remain the landlord. They want to rent you the building where the AI lives, rather than becoming a tenant to OpenAI.
They are trying to ensure the institutional expertise and, the massive profit margins stay in-house.
Exactly.
That is the high-level boardroom strategy. But if we bring this down to the actual engineering floor, the application of this token capital is moving way faster than most people realize.
It's terrifyingly fast.
Yeah. There was a post from the account at 0xMoves that highlighted an interview with Boris Cherny, the creator of Claude Code at Anthropic, and the metrics he shared are just staggering.
What are they at now?
He stated that 100% of their pull requests and 80 to 90% of their code reviews are now run entirely by AI.
Wait, 100%?
100%.
Okay, for anyone outside of software engineering, a pull request is when a developer submits new code to be merged into the main project. And a code review is the human oversight process, checking that code for bugs, security flaws, inefficiencies.
Right.
Anthropic has essentially automated the creation and the auditing.
And it gets even more intense. Cherny explicitly notes he doesn't prompt the AI anymore. He builds autonomous loops.
See, the architectural difference between a prompt and a loop is the core of this entire technological shift.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, a prompt is a human asking a model for an output. You ask a question, you get an answer, and the process stops. A loop is a continuous, agentic process.
So instead of asking for a snippet of code, he gives the loop a directive, like optimize this database.
Yes.
And then the loop writes the code, pushes it to a testing environment, sees that it failed, reads the error log, rewrites its own code to fix the error, tests it again, and just keeps iterating until it achieves the goal. all without human intervention.
Which brings up a very dark analytical problem.
I was hoping you'd say that.
If the AI loop is writing 100% of the pull requests,
Yeah.
well, and then the AI is conducting 90% of the code reviews, who audits the auditor?
The system is marking its own homework.
Exactly. We are cheering for the productivity gains. And look, the efficiency of a loop writing software faster than a team of senior engineers is undeniable.
Right.
But the hidden risk is that we are automating away the exact human oversight that Satya Nadella claims is the critical counterpart to token capital.
Right.
If nobody inside Anthropic actually understands how the architecture works anymore because a loop wrote it and another loop reviewed it, the company has entirely lost its human capital.
The tacit knowledge has just been completely hollowed out. And if that loop hallucinates a structural flaw or introduces a vulnerability, it gets pushed directly into the code base.
The fragility that introduces its scale is, it's terrifying.
It really is. But there's also a physical ceiling to running these infinite autonomous AI loops. Millions of agents writing, compiling, and testing code constantly requires immense amounts of energy. We really can't talk about cognitive ecosystems without hitting the hard wall of power generation.
Which neatly ties our geopolitical lead story about the Strait of Hormuz directly to our technology discussion. Energy is the ultimate bottleneck.
Always is. And a post from Tesla AI engineer Yunta Tsai at Yuntasai put this into a mind-bending cosmic perspective.
I love this concept.
It's so cool. He brought up the Kardashev scale to look at humanity's ultimate report card on energy consumption. He noted that humanity currently harnesses roughly 18 to 19 terawatts of energy globally.
Right. And to contextualize that, a Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev scale is a species capable of harnessing 100% of the energy that reaches its home planet from its parent star.
And according to his visual progress bar, humanity is sitting at exactly 0.0115% of that requirement.
Wow.
Yeah. On a galactic scale, our energy infrastructure barely even registers. We are fighting over single shipping lanes while we haven't even scratched the surface of planetary energy capture.
And that limitation dictates everything, right?
Yeah.
From the price of consumer goods to literally how many Claude coding loops Anthropic can run simultaneously.
Exactly. And it dictates the ceiling for the most energy-intensive digital asset on Earth, Bitcoin. Which brings us to a massive clash over the illusion of digital ownership today.
This is a wild story.
It really is. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong at Brian Armstrong posted a very standard founder statement saying he is, quote, as bullish as ever on Bitcoin.
Which is a standard sentiment until you read the replies completely dismantling it.
Right. Because a user named at Bitcoin Marine 02 brought the receipts. They dug into GameStop's 2026 SEC filing, and this filing reveals that GameStop pledged 4,709 Bitcoin to Coinbase specifically for a covered call strategy.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of a covered call strategy for a corporate treasury.
Yeah, please.
GameStop is sitting on this massive pile of Bitcoin, but holding it doesn't generate quarterly revenue. They want yield. So they sell a call option, meaning they sell someone else the right to buy their Bitcoin at a specific higher price at a future date.
Got it.
In exchange for granting that right, GameStop collects a cash premium up front.
I mean, it sounds like a smart, conservative way for a corporation to generate revenue on a dormant treasury asset.
The strategy itself is standard in traditional equity markets.
Yeah.
The structural shift happens when you look at the terms of custody.
This is the kicker. The SEC filing explicitly allows Coinbase to rehypothecate, commingle, or sell that collateral while the contract is open.
Yes.
Let me make sure I am mapping this concept correctly. Is this basically like me handing the keys to my car to a valet at a restaurant, and while I'm eating dinner, that valet rents my car out to 5 different Uber drivers at the exact same time to make extra cash?
That is the perfect mechanical description of rehypothecation.
It's crazy.
The institution is taking an asset you deposited and lending it out to multiple other parties simultaneously to generate overlapping yield.
Right.
The irony here is just so thick. The foundational ethos of Bitcoin was, not your keys, not your coins. It was engineered specifically to be a verifiable self-custody bearer asset to escape the opaque leverage of Wall Street banks.
We built a decentralized ledger to verify ownership, and now the major players are willingly handing the asset back to a centralized exchange to be used exactly like fiat currency.
Exactly. And by rehypothecating the Bitcoin, institutions are artificially inflating the supply on paper. GameStop's ledger says they have roughly 4,700 Bitcoin. But Coinbase might have already lent those exact same digital coins to 3 different hedge funds to use as collateral for other trades.
So it's essentially paper Bitcoin.
Yep. And what happens when there is a sudden market shock? If multiple institutions demand their Bitcoin back at the exact same time, like a classic bank run, the math breaks.
Oh,
The
wow.
self-custody purists holding their own hardware wallets, they remain entirely unaffected. But the institutional players relying on these commingled paper claims could trigger a massive liquidity crisis.
It's like a 2008 style cascade built on top of the exact asset designed to prevent 2008. The financial system just absorbs the revolution and repackages it into another derivative.
The house always finds a way to become the house.
It really does. Well, we've covered a massive scope today. Trillions of dollars in global markets, Kardashev energy scales, autonomous AI code loops, and rehypothecated digital assets.
We covered some ground.
Yeah, but for the listener tuning in, you might be wondering how all this macroeconomic machinery filters down to everyday human behavior.
The behavioral economics of compounding.
Exactly. Nick Huber, who runs the @Sweaty startup account, posted an observation that went viral today, and it perfectly illustrates this. He was sitting at a local pub and overheard a 60-year-old man complaining loudly that he couldn't afford to retire.
Okay.
The man was blaming Elon Musk for having $1 trillion. He was blaming the macro economy, blaming the system.
And let me guess, the man was sitting at the pub drinking $7 beers for 3 hours.
Exactly that. The human brain really struggles to perceive the damage of small, repeated capital leaks. We love to point at the macro villains because it absolves us of the micro decisions.
To be fair, we just spent the last 15 minutes detailing very real, massive systemic issues.
True.
Microsoft is aggressively consolidating cognitive power, Wall Street is artificially inflating digital assets through rehypothecation, and algorithmic trading is destabilizing physical energy markets. Those are real forces.
Absolutely.
But people often use those macro forces as an emotional shield. They ignore the silent daily destruction of their own capital.
Right. 3 hours of $7 beers compounded over 30 years in an S&P index fund is the mathematical reason that specific individual cannot retire.
It is the exact inverse of what Amjad Masad was praising about Microsoft's corporate strategy earlier.
Interesting.
Yeah, Microsoft is building hill-climbing machines to compound their institutional capital day after day. The man in the pub is running an autonomous, wealth-destroying loop.
A wealth-destroying loop. That is a brilliant way to phrase it. And if we want to look at the ultimate counterexample, like a pure bet on long-term compounding, we can look at today's sports wire.
What's the news there?
Well, Fabrizio Romano reported that Manchester City is locking down their young Croatian defender Šoko Gvardiol with a new contract running all the way until June 2031.
Wow, 2031.
Yeah, and they beat out Real Madrid, who had been actively trying to acquire him.
I mean, securing an elite human asset for 7 years in modern football is a massive structural move.
It is. Think about it through the lens of everything we just analyzed today. Manchester City is executing the exact same playbook as Microsoft. They are securing top-tier human capital, locking it into their specific ecosystem to ensure they remain dominant over a long time horizon.
So you want to own the pipeline.
Right. They understand that you have to secure the asset today to compound the wins tomorrow. Meanwhile, the guy at the pub is bleeding his capital dry 1 pint at a time.
The mathematical mechanics of compounding just apply impartially. They work the exact same way for a premier football club, an autonomous AI model, or an individual retirement account. You are either compounding your capital or you are leaking it.
Very true. Well, as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought experiment that connects our lead geopolitical story back to our tech analysis.
Let's hear it.
We opened with this sudden U.S.-Iran peace deal, right? And we looked at the lit capital satire, pointing out that an MU requires dozens of bureaucratic, human-led revisions, literally version 26 of a document.
Right, the immense friction of human diplomacy.
Exactly. And then we looked at Anthropic's Boris Cherny, who is deploying autonomous AI loops that write, test, read error logs, and refine code entirely on their own. So here's the question for you to chew on. If we currently require months of slow, bureaucratic human iteration to secure an interim MOU that doesn't even finalize the peace, how long until governments just stop relying on human diplomats entirely?
Oh, man.
Right? How long until a nation deploys an autonomous AI loop to act as a digital State Department, running millions of diplomatic simulations and negotiating global treaties in real time?
I mean, honestly, we could see algorithmic diplomacy before the end of the decade.
It's wild to think about.
It is. But before we get to AI ambassadors, Human traders have to survive tomorrow's market session.
Very true. What's your prediction based on the data we sifted today?
Watch the energy futures the minute the bell rings.
The oil market reaction to the peace deal.
Exactly. Watch that 4% drop. As human analysts digest the fine print and realize the U.S.-Iran deal is just an interim MOU with missing regional players and literally no enforcement mechanism, that initial drop is going to aggressively reverse.
Because the bots jump the gun.
Right. The algorithms reacted to the utopian headline, but the human capital will realize the physical supply chain through the Strait of Hormuz is still at massive risk. Expect a sharp upward correction in oil tomorrow.
Makes total sense. The algorithms trade the illusion, but eventually the humans have to price in the reality, at least for now. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the consensus, keep a close eye on your own compounding loops, and until tomorrow, this is the Daily Vibecasting.